You just named two of our most consistent players, right? Hannah's our anchor in the back, and Ashley's been scoring goals since the Big 12 started in 2022 and has never looked back. She's had a couple games where she hasn't, or a couple games where she was frustrated, but that just drives her for more. So consistency for those two has led to a really good season so far, and also their recognition. It was well deserved.
Questions?
Going on the road against a ranked team, unranked Baylor, you mentioned last week that overlooking or blowing over Baylor would be a bad idea. But going into a road match where you have a rival UT and then in Waco, in Austin, how did it feel to focus on not looking at the numbers, not looking at anything other than who would play right now?
Yeah, and honestly, in soccer, I think we've won 4 out of the last 6 against Texas, and we've split with Baylor, but won a couple in a row. But then you go back a few years before that, and Texas won 2 or 3 in a row, and Baylor had their run where they were beating everyone in the league. So there was just no way to go into that weekend without going, man, this is one of the hardest road trips any Big 12 team is going to face. First of all, late September, 100 degrees at kickoff, 60% humidity, we just don't used to that. West Texas people melt in that heat, and we did not melt, nor did we wilt. We just were prepared. We talked about it all week. Sometimes you can freak your team out by talking about it. We just said, look, here's the challenge. It's going to be hot. They're used to it. We're not. What's that going to do to you? Is it going to mess with us, or are we going to overcome it? And we clearly overcame it. And there was just really no way to overthink Texas and underappreciate Baylor or reversed. It was just a really hard 2-game weekend, and it wasn't long after the Texas game that we said, look, there's going to be a time to celebrate this dramatic ending, but it's not now. We got to be thinking about Baylor. And I know that sounds very cliche and very coach-ish, but the team bought in. They were like, yep, we got to beat Baylor. Got to get that done before we can really enjoy the weekend. And to be fair, the locker room after Baylor, we were celebrating both wins because we got the chance to do that. It would have been tainted a bit if we'd have lost on Sunday. So good job to the girls for pulling off the double.
And staying with that focus, going still undefeated, how do you take those 2 big road wins and come home and keep it going at home?
I guess it's the same approach, Good Tuesdays become good Thursdays. We had a good training Tuesday, same focus. We're following the same routine. But Oklahoma's undefeated. Nobody's talking about that. They haven't lost in the Big 12. I think they're on 7 points. So, this is a team that has found its way a little bit since Big 12 started. New coach, very smart guy, going to come with something here to slow us down. We know our team is already expecting something to be different. And we'll have to react and respond to that accordingly. Every team seems to bring a new challenge, and this is no different.
You've had some good teams here. You're 11 matches in, and you haven't trailed.
Here we go.
He put it in the notes, so don't go after me.
I'm coming after you. I'm coming for you.
How is that? Explain.
Look, I think you have your non-conference schedule, and if you get off to a really good start, your confidence is up early. We unfortunately tied New Mexico immediately, and it was a massive coming together afterwards. I've never seen our team that mad in my entire time coaching here. They were mad at each other. They were mad at themselves. They're probably mad at us. I don't know. They were literally, I had to talk them back down, and which is not normal. Usually you're bummed, you're this, you're that. They were so mad that they knew they were better than that performance that I think in a really weird way, game 1 was an important point, important pivot for us. And to remind ourselves, hey, look, we're fine. It's 1 draw. We just have a game on Sunday. We got to get after it. So right away, we were challenged and tested and emotionally involved and invested in the season. And I think that some teams start slow, and maybe we've done that in the past. So I don't know. Ranking of teams is impossible. I don't even care about that, especially midseason. But in terms of our start, we got going because we played great in the New Mexico game. That's why we were so mad. We gave them a goal with 90 seconds left. And so we were very frustrated by that result. And it just kind of built from there. If you're going to take care of business, you got to do it. You got to be prepared. You got to give it all you have. I think another factor, which is a lot of times very much good fortune, is just overall team health. Everyone's been available for all the games. We know that won't necessarily be forever, but our sports performance team has never been better than it is right now, and the girls are bought in, and they're doing all the little things, I think, to look after themselves, which has given us that small percentage increase of health that is a valuable point. One team in the Big 12 didn't lose any players during COVID, and they were the champs. And everyone else lost players during COVID. Well, right now, we've had, for the most part, full availability. And that's been a big weapon of ours, our depth.
How big is that to have that kind of come to Jesus moment in the first game instead of at the midway point where you can start a season and say, you guys know we can be better than this.
Look, yes, you're so right. Such a great point, because here's the thing with college soccer. You play your last meaningful game The latest you would play a meaningful game is the first week of December. You do not play a meaningful game for 8 months. And so they play summer league and nobody's really tackling, and they play with their club team and everyone's just having a good time and trying to stay healthy. So the games don't matter until August. And then in preseason you're playing against your own teammates, right? And it matters, but not as much. And so to have that lesson taught to us in the first game, we owe New Mexico a big thank you. I mean, they always play us tough, but that helped us. I mean, honestly, it did, because we didn't like it. And if we had been okay with it, I think it would have been a statement about this team, but we were not okay with it. And has gone from there.
I think David was kind of alluding to it a little bit, but is it too early to kind of compare this team to previous teams because of how much is still ahead of you?
Yeah, I mean, you guys, that's part of the storytelling, right? But for us, that would just be a huge distraction. There's no way to get on that boat. I mean, when seasons are over, it's fun to talk about that, but it would be detrimental to my health, my mental health, if I started that going down that road. Daydreaming right now is like an ostrich. You put your head in the sand and ignore what's around you. We just don't need that. We got to stay in the present.
I'm going to look ahead, but just because I won't be here Thursday late night. A new Big 12. Well, I'll be here. I won't be here for the end.
Okay.
You like to hobnob after matches. Cincinnati coming into town. What do you know about them? And I mean, we talked preseason about the excitement of having these new teams, but as you get closer to it, is it a little more? Are you a little more worried not knowing as much about them going into it?
Yeah, usually, for example, on Thursday, we have a lot more information of historical knowledge of Oklahoma. New coach, new roster, new team, transfers in, transfers out. This feels like a new team. That's worrisome. Cincinnati, very little knowledge other than what we've been watching on videos. We've kind of gotten closer and closer to this weekend. And everyone says the same thing from their former conference to their new conference. First, they say you don't want to play them at their place. Tiny little turf field, really rough place to win. And they're just as good on the road. They're feisty, they're stubborn, and you look at their scores, even the games they've lost, 1-goal games. So both games have a lot of mystery left in them, which is a little unnerving, but that's why we got to be us. We got to do our thing and hope for the best in that regard.
Coach, you talk about Cincinnati and then OU tomorrow, who has won all their Big 12 games. How do you make sure your team kind of just stays grounded after coming off of 2 big wins? We
heard, is it Jalen? Jalen, our big lineman, spoke at we heard Jalen, our lineman from Tech Football, mention rat poison. When people start telling you how good you are, you got to avoid it like it's rat poison. There are some things that have occurred for us, popularity-wise and poll-wise and all that, and that's just you become a sucker if you start falling for that. There's way too much soccer left. If there's 2 games left in the season and everyone's telling you how good you are, you probably are that good. But with half our Big 12 left and more, it's way too soon to be reading clippings and thinking about that. I'm happy for the team that their efforts have been recognized. Like, that is a good thing. So we're not like all about don't look at anything. It's fine. I'm glad they finally recognized that we were a good team. It took us forever to get in the popular poll, but mathematically we were in the RPI and doing well in that one right away. That doesn't seem to get the same pub as the other one, although the RPI is the only one that matters in terms of postseason selection. So we keep an eye on both, respectful of both, but at the same time, it's volatile. I mean, teams can move up and down really fast, and so we're really well aware of that.
And you mentioned Ashley, her role has changed from last year to this year, more of a focus, kind of focal point for you. How has she kind of handled that responsibility? So
here's what's interesting about that question. The spotlight is more on her because she led the league in goals last year along with Byers from Texas. They tied in goals scored in the league. But they can't focus on her because of Alex Kerr and Story Sexton and Olivia Dragicevic and Bug. Everyone we bring on is a good twosome, a good tandem, which is not allowing teams, even though the spotlight's been on Ashley and she's responded to it extremely well. I actually think she likes it. She likes pressure. But her responsibility has not gotten bigger. It's actually gotten smaller because she can really focus on being the box goal scorer that we need and the back to goal 9 that we need, because Kerr is equally as dangerous and frightening to play against. And so that twosome has really given both Alex and Ashley the freedom, I think, to be real comfortable in that setup. So spotlight brighter, but roles and responsibilities a little more focused, a little more giving Ashley exactly what she needs, which is good service. She knows what to do with it.
And you've talked before on how huge it is that Macy Blackburn is back this year.
Yeah.
I mean, unbelievable. Kind of talk on how it's been having her back.
Yeah, I mean, I think you add Macy back to last year's team, and it's a different season just because, when she went out, we played 3 games, she had 3 assists, and then she left for the year. So getting her back, those 3 assists plus more on one side of the field, you can't steer us to Kylie and Elise's side because they're obviously super dangerous. And Macy's just she's a gamer. She's one of the best wide players in the country. She's got a long future ahead of her if she wants it, and she loves the big games. I mean, she's been in big games since she was little. Her club team won national championships. She has watched this team since she was like 10 years old. She was watching when we won the Big 12 a few years ago. She's all about bringing something here that she can hang her hat on. And I think that, when you have a competitor like that who's as talented as that, of course it's a big boost, and we're thrilled to have her back. It goes without saying.
Your team has had an ability this year to strike early and often in first halves. What kind of goes into that, and how important is it when you can maybe get, like you did at Texas, a 15-minute goal or an 8-minute goal or a 10-minute goal? And
I don't know. Maybe we're better in person than we are in video. I don't know why that's happened. I think the team comes out of the locker room ready. We're certainly a feisty team and an emotional team. We're excited to play, but so is everybody. So I don't really know that I have my finger on why we've scored a lot of goals early. We tell the team, feel free to keep that up. But it's not something like, you can't have a practice to score goals early. You want to score goals all the time. You're always wanting to score goals. So I love it when coaches say, we just got to get the first one. Yeah, no kidding. Everyone's got to get the first one and the second one and not give up 3. So I think those things are interesting, and it's fun the way we've gotten on top of people. But the other side is, when it's not us, we got to be able to respond to that too. So we do a lot of things in practice that have us down a goal, so that we're practicing what inevitably is going to happen potentially, right? I don't want to say we want it to happen, but it could happen. It should happen. It usually does happen, and so we got to be prepared for the flip side of that too. What if someone else gets up first? We got to be ready for that.
And then just take us through Thursday night, the atmosphere you're expecting. Thursday nights here tend to be bigger nights in terms of crowd and attendance, and what you're expecting from the locals and from Lubbock.
Yeah, from last Thursday, it was absolutely off the hook. It was like 2019 days, pre-COVID. It was nuts in here. You couldn't really hear us. The team probably loved that. And the atmosphere was amazing. The fraternity guys that came, I think they were the Sigma Chi's, were absolutely bonkers. They had Blackburn painted across their, chest. They were loud. That got the crowd going. There was a ton of the youth community here. What's cool about our fan group is it's student-based, community-based, and youth soccer-based. A lot of programs just can tap into one of those 3. However it is here, we were able to tap into all 3. And I think, the crowds for non-conference games are good, but Red Raider fans love Big 12 games. They love them. And so the fact that it's soccer and not football or basketball, to many of our fans is just, let's go watch Texas Tech University Athletics play against another Big 12 team, no matter what the sport is. You've been to tennis matches, you can't find a seat. So it's one of the great things about coaching here is when the team's doing well and we're in the Big 12, people come out. And I think, honestly, it was so loud last time we had to adjust a little bit. So hopefully it's as loud as it loud again tomorrow.
Coach, I know you said it's kind of distracting or premature to talk about this right now, but this is the best start in program history. Can you just talk about the chemistry of this team to be able to do that?
My college coach, John Rennie, used to say, I don't care about where we are at the beginning of the season, I care about where we end up. And that's really true. And so I didn't even know it was our best start. I didn't know any of those stats. They were brought up by our wonderful SID over here. But I think that we have a team that's been to the Sweet 16. We have a team that's raised the Big 12 trophy. We have a team that was in overtime to go to the Elite 8 against the #1 team in the country. We've had teams, not this one, that have done some things that we're chasing. Every team's chasing. And so I don't think you want to hang your hat on best start. You want to hang your hat on best finish, and do as well as you can in the Big 12 to get points and finish high and get to have that rest in the tournament and then hopefully get invited to play on. All those things are on the line for us. And so we're thrilled by it. But we know where we finish is really the big part. My most important thing from the weekend is that I'm glad we now have wins on the road, as you pointed out last week. So the road wins in the Big 12 were big, and we're kind of looking at that as that's a huge confidence boost because it's hard, man. It's hard to win at Baylor. It's hard to win at Texas. So it's been a fun start, but so much left, honestly, and that's just where we've tried to keep our mindset.
Anything else for Coach Tom? Tom, thank you very much.
Good job, guys.